What's crack, it's VangelinaSkov. I think a lot of you watching this will already know that personality disorders have gotten an extremely unfairly negative reputation. And it's no secret that antisocial personality disorder has one of the biggest stigmas around it, with people like Kati Morton and Dawson saying that sociopaths are icky and gross, and spreading misinformation like people with antisocial personality disorder don't feel any empathy. There is an incredible stigma around this disorder and a lot of misinformation and lies being spread about it constantly that people just take as fact. So today I'm going to be sitting down with somebody who has antisocial personality disorder to ask them a couple of questions about their personal experience. And just to keep in mind, everybody's experience will be different, and what's true for them might not be true for somebody else. But this is their own experience in their words, telling you why antisocial personality disorder is not, as Kati Morton would say, icky. Right, so hi, thank you for joining me. If you'd like to introduce yourself to everybody.
Hello, my name is Edith. I am an alter, and that's about it.
Okay, good introduction. I really do appreciate you joining me and talking about all of this. I know it's a topic that a lot of people kind of have trouble speaking about, or they're a bit nervous talking about their own experiences and things like that. So we're talking today about ASPD, or antisocial personality disorder. So do you want to maybe give me a brief overview of your experiences with that, how you found out, things like that?
I came into this world when I split off, knowing that I was a little more harsh, I guess you could say. And then I was never stimulated at all. Nothing ever really seemed to get my heart rate up, if that makes sense. And I guess the main thing, once we got into therapy again for the second time, discovering it, was I just don't care about a lot of things. I don't care at all. And that was really just ding, ding, ding. Oh, she has ASPD.
Did you immediately, tell people, or did you as a whole, not just you personally, tell people, or was it something you decided to sort of keep private for a while? How did that work?
Definitely keep it private. There's way too much stigma for any of us to be comfortable with it. Our partner knows, and that is about it. That is the only person that we have actually trusted enough to say, hey, we have this disorder, among others.
Mm-hmm. So what would be some of the main stereotypes that would worry you if you were to tell somebody else? What do you think would be the biggest issue for them to think about you?
Probably that I would physically harm someone, or that I'm more manipulative and cruel, or a liar.
That can be an issue with a lot of personality disorders in general as well. But I think with ASPD, people sort of stigmatize it to an even bigger extent, that they think it's not just, they could be manipulative or liars, but they could do it to a dangerous level. And I think that's been portrayed a lot in the media, which is quite unfair.
It's really unfair. I would never hurt anyone unless it was in self-defense. If it's in self-defense, all bets are off. But I think that's the case with anyone. The media has been truly unfair, I think. I watched an interview by Special Books with Special Kids, their interview with someone with ASPD, and I thought that was probably the best thing that someone could have done, honestly, especially with their platform.
Mm-hmm. I am also gonna, for everybody watching, gonna link that video in the description so you can watch that as well if you want to, because it is actually a very good video, and one of the more helpful ones, since a lot of the YouTube content, I'm not sure if it's something you've watched quite often, but when talking about disorders like this, they can tend to take a very aggressive approach with it, which is not great. very sensationalizing it and things like that. So it is good to have good representation.
The sensationalization or people hyping themselves up or playing the disorder up to be so much more than what it is, that's weird to me. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it is very odd. It's actually, I will admit, up until maybe a couple of years ago, I had a completely different idea of the disorder as well, purely because I never did any research on it myself. I just saw TV shows and movies. I just saw TVs, and thought, oh yeah, those ones without any empathy and no feelings, and they're all the villains. And then later on went and educated myself because I am in the mental health circles, but I can see how damaging that would be if you're not somebody who's inclined to go look for the actual answers just to see movies and think, here's a crazy killer, things like that. It is very odd to me as well, though, and I don't understand it. I guess people want to make money. That's my only answer.
Most likely. On your point of low to no empathy, people get that really messed up. I have intellectual empathy, so obviously I can see when someone is upset. I will just never feel that upsetness for them. So it's not like a cold-hearted thing. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
I can be empathetic without having empathy.
I think maybe along the lines of what you're trying to say is I saw somebody tweet this the other day, actually, that I can't remember who tweeted it, that people confuse empathy for compassion. So you can not want somebody else to be hurt without actually feeling their pain when they are hurt. I think that's...
Yeah.
But so something I wanted to ask you about the empathy was... because I get confused about this as well. And I think a lot of people think it's purely you just have no empathy. But from my understanding, it's sort of a scale, or there's different varying degrees that people can have.
Yeah, I feel like I fall on the lower end. Like, I don't think that I lack it completely, because when people get very close to me or when I feel very close to someone, I can kind of gauge where they're at any given moment. And that's also working with therapy a lot. But I think I do have some, honestly. And it takes work and some mental energy that I don't typically like to divert to other people's feelings. It takes a lot out of me for some reason. But I think I vibe more with compassion than I do with empathy, because I'm a very compassionate person. Just because, like we were talking about before, I don't love our cat. I will still take very good care of her and, give her what she needs, even as far as affection goes.
That is something as well that I think people don't realize, is that empathy is sort of, in a way, it can be a learned skill, even if you don't have it naturally. So I think, people have the understanding that, oh, if you have ASPD, you don't have empathy and you can't do anything about it. But that would be just not true.
Right. In therapy, I spent, and even my host spent, a lot of time learning what empathy is and learning that it's okay to not have a lot of it. But compassion and recognizing what behaviors are okay when someone feels XYZ versus being kind of just this blank slate of a person, not really caring, but not caring either.
Yeah, that makes sense. While we're on the topic of, treatment and learning empathy, is treatment something that you're comfortable to talk about, how that's looked for you? Okay, if you want to give me just sort of an overview of what things you would work on in terms of symptoms.
Symptoms, the chronic boredom. would be the biggest symptom that I work on. Nothing really does stimulate me. I'm always just kind of a lump. It seems like it's with the risk taking that my symptoms really rev themselves up. Our partner is a system as well, and my boyfriend in her system says I am not allowed to take walks in bad neighborhoods where bad things can happen to me. But it's something that I enjoy just because I know that that's the kind of neighborhood where bad things can happen. But I also have to remember we have littles, we have other people who are really sensitive, who can't take care of themselves, and I can't put us in that kind of danger, especially at the frequency that I was doing it. I guess also another thing would be drug use. Can't do that. That's dangerous. That could kill you. We're on a lot of different medications for depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. So you can't mix drugs with that kind of thing, or you literally risk having a heart attack, which is part of the fun for me. But yeah, that's something that I work on in therapy a lot. Just finding things to occupy my brain, occupy my time. Empathy is one that I've worked on. I feel like I've gotten as far as I can with that. I don't really want to progress much further just because it's draining, honestly, doing all of that work emotionally. Trying to put myself in someone else's shoes. It makes sense to me. Like, I can do it. It's some people kind of confuse it with autism. Like, once you understand, you're just magically able to do it like all the time or something, and it's not like that. I don't know. I don't enjoy it. That's as far as I want to get with it. So really just the risk-taking behaviors and the chronic boredom.
And for treatments, I know a lot of personality disorders as well, people with them have trouble wanting to go to therapy. It can seem daunting, and since they're personality disorders, it can feel like you're changing your personality, because in a way you are. So is that something you were a bit afraid of as well, or did you have any other apprehensions?
At first it really pissed me off. Honestly, it wasn't something that I wanted to be a part of at all. I was kind of one of the last to jump on board with doing therapy, admitting that, okay, maybe, yeah, some of my behaviors are not productive, but yeah, I don't like going. I admit that I will go and then just kind of waste her time sometimes, just, mess around in there. But for the most part, I do try now that I've kind of admitted, like, there are some things about myself that are not good and that are not healthy. And so those are the parts of myself that I'm willing to adapt. I don't want to say change. I'd rather think of it as more of an evolution of myself.
And do you find that the things that you've been doing so far have been helpful for you? Have you, found that you've made positive changes in any way that you would deem, maybe not better, but I'm trying to think of a better word than better, sort of preferable?
I have taken great comfort in watching other people do risky behaviors, if that makes sense. So now I do a lot of people watching. That sounds stalkery. It's not supposed to. No one in particular, just when I see someone doing something particularly stupid, I just kind of want to know how that plays out. Also in terms of like watching, like what I watch on TV, I'll watch something that's like very violent or You know those Vin Diesel movies?
I've never seen them, but I know that they're there.
Yeah, just things like that. It'll get my heart rate up just a little bit, and I feel like I can navigate a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it's important to try and find sort of non dangerous ways of letting out your impulsive behaviors. I think I've talked about this before personally with BPD. I can be impulsive. So the ways that I let myself be impulsive are in small things like dyeing my hair, which is so cliche for people on the internet at this point, but it really does help to feel like you've gotten to be crazy for that moment or something, be wild. So
Yeah. We do a lot of impulse spending, which is not good on our wallet. It's not good for our financial health. And I'll admit that this is a wig. I bought this for us. I impulsively shaved our head completely. We had hair down to here, which took for people with curly hair, you know how long it takes to grow. So shaving that was not my proudest. No, I'm not gonna lie. I'm very proud of it. Now we all get to wear wigs, and we all get to look like what we want to.
So at the moment, if you're comfortable talking about it, would the impulse spending be sort of the most, let's say, reckless thing that you'll let yourself do?
Yes. I'll do some crazy things with sex, but we're not gonna get into that. But for the most part, yeah, the impulse spending, it just, especially when I get to buy big things, I'm not out all of the time for that reason. I can be reckless in my void. I live in a void.
Okay.
Once I'm out, I can buy big things, and it's like, oh, I get a thrill from it because it's like, I know that there are consequences to this action. If I buy this, we're going to be broke for a little bit. And that, for whatever reason, is just like, yes, that's what I want. I want to struggle just for a little bit, even though it's not my struggle. And then, I don't know, I have issues with having empathy for my host. She annoys me. So
you seem like you don't want to say much else on that.
I like to watch her struggle sometimes with that, so that's a little sadistic, but it's the truth.
That's okay. Honesty is preferable anyway. So.
Working on it. Compulsive liar here. I'll tag myself.
Yeah, that is a hard one, but I think it's important to make the distinction for people as well. Like, even in you saying you want to watch her struggle sometimes, I think some people might pick that up as, oh, see, I was right. They are evil, and they just want to watch people hurt, which is not the same thing at all. There's a big difference there.
I would never, ever, ever put her in a position where she would be hurting, whether that be financially or otherwise, for any extended period of time. I think, like when I bought this wig, for example, it was at a time where we didn't have a job, but we were getting unemployment. So it was kind of a balancing act with money. And I decided that it would be fun just for me.
One of the last things I wanted to ask you as well, a very vague question, but what would be sort of the main things that you would want people to understand about this disorder?
I'm not evil. I'm not going to hurt anyone unless severely provoked. I think that for the most part, people are generally good. people make a lot of mistakes in life. And you don't always know where someone is coming from with their intentions. And those are things that you need to be mindful of. Mindfulness is a very good practice for any and everybody. And I highly recommend that you take a step outside of yourself and put yourself in the shoes of someone who can't do everything that you can do as easily.
Is there anything else you want to add at all before we close this off? Because that was most of my questions.
Just know we're bored. A lot of the manipulative behaviors that people with ASPD tend to exhibit come from boredom. So if you just keep us stimulated, if we're like cats, wave something in front of our faces and we can work something out that way.
I love that. That's amazing. What a wonderful way to put it. Well, thank you for answering all of my questions. I really, really appreciate it. Hopefully it helped people get a better understanding of something that isn't as awful and terrible and scary as they might think it is. So really appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me talk about it. I don't really get to share my experience all that often. So this was fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Anyway, guys, I hope you found that informative. If there's any parts of that you want clarified or more things that you want talked about on this topic, then just let me know in the comments and I will definitely do that. I would really like to start doing more of these videos on personality disorders and mental health issues in general. So do let me know if that's something you like, and do let me know as well if you like this format for the videos. I really appreciate your feedback whenever you give it, and it really helps me to shape the channel. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it from me for now. So please subscribe and click the bell button to get notifications when I upload. Really trying to get the channel to 40,000 subscribers, and I would really appreciate your help in that. And you can also follow me on social media. Like, comment, share, and do all the things that I'm supposed to ask you to do at the end of a video. And have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.